Today we are ranking the full-length albums of Cattle Decapitation, and we're starting with To Serve Man in 2002. Now, this is such an early 2000s album cover. I recall some of my friends talking about how edgy these were, like Cannibal Corpse was back in the day. Notably, Wes Bonescoder has done all of the Cattle Decapitation album covers in addition to so many others, and man is it cool to see his skill improving over the years. Already moving into more of a death grindy sound from the Human Jerky EP, thanks in part to Travis Ryan's deeper growls here. Musically, I'd say this is pretty standard stuff though, fairly repetitious chords and tremolo lines over blast beats. The best qualities for me, again, come in the form of Travis's layered vocals, which while still in their infancy are already pretty raunchy. Even for its time, I'd say it was kind of mid, but I have a whole 2000s death metal debut tier list coming to talk about that. But for now, I'm going to put this one at D tier. It's not bad, but something has to be down at the bottom. Moving on to Humanure in 2004. Poo-poo jokes. Seriously though, Teenage Me thought that titles like Bukkake Tsunami were hilarious, but now it feels a little bit cringe.
Oh, grow up.
They are also making some Pink Floyd references, both with the cover art similar to Adam Hart Mother, although Wes claims it's a coincidence, and the intro track Scatology Domine calling back to Astronomy Domine. Still pretty raw, but playing with some dynamics and melody. Better songwriting, but still kind of on the basic side. Applied Human Defragmentation is pretty good. Members of the Locusts make a guest appearance, but this is all still very much a larva in a cocoon waiting for its best qualities to emerge. So, gonna put this one at C tier. Follow that up with Karma.Bloody.Karma in 2006. They keep inching their way closer and closer to greatness, with Success is hanging by the neck, feeling like the first track that really starts to resemble what I consider to be the Cattle Decapitation sound. Songs like 1000 Times Decapitation also demonstrating their more technical side. And for you fellow old YouTube alumni, the Carcass Derek just had me thinking about this gem.
I'm listening to my radio, Derek!
Total gore is wicked, and we're also getting some early appearances of the higher goblin vocals and their penchant for dark atmosphere in Alone at the Landfill, as well as The New Dawn. Steadily improving album to album, but we still haven't gotten to the peak material yet, in my opinion. I'll put this at B tier. Next up is The Harvest Floor in 2009. So here is Cattle Decapitation pretty much fully formed. The Gardeners of Eden like a true heralding of their apocalyptic arrival. Wicked bass on that one too. The instrumentation definitely getting more and more insane. Travis unleashing even more goblin vocals, really belting it out on the Ripe Beneath the Rind, as well as stepping up the death growls with that more staccato delivery to add to the texture of each song. And this album even ends on a pretty cinematic note with The Harvest Floor and Regret and the Grave. Very tight 37 minutes and just really coming into their own with this one. I still wouldn't quite call it an A, but still a massive step up from the previous album. Call this one like a B+. Y'all, we're only halfway, but if you're enjoying the video, be sure to hit the like button and comment your own thoughts and rankings down in the comments. But next up we have Monolith of Inhumanity in 2012. Now, if that last album was them coming into their sound, this is them standardizing it and also stepping up the production to what we've come to expect from them today. Dead Set on Suicide is sick, a living, breathing piece of defecating meat, fully unveiling Travis's goblin singing, which I think is just such a unique element of their sound, not to mention a guest feature from Leonard Leal of Cephalic Carnage. What a song title too. Mike Majewski of Devourment also makes an appearance on Projectile Ovulation with some truly stomach-churning gutturals. Gristlicker is an absolute barn burner with a fun scream-along chorus. Lifestalker is a ripper, and this also has the somewhat infamous music video for Forced Gender Reassignment. And another big two-part closer with the Monolith and Kingdom of Tyrants, even bringing in some actual clean singing. Top-notch stuff in a classic death metal release for the 2010s. I'm gonna jump this one up to S tier. Next up is the Anthropocene Extinction in 2015. Now, right from that ominous opening melody of Manufactured Extinct, I knew that I was in for a ride with this one. Travis continuing to lean more into the goblins, singing for what I would genuinely describe as some of the most breathtaking moments of their entire catalog on this one, with the likes of Plagueborn, Circo Inhumanitatis, and the haunting conclusion of Pacific Grim. Some of their best songs overall too, with the Prophets of Loss, Clandestine Ways, and the mournful Mammals in Babylon. Honestly, every song is basically a 10 out of 10 here. Pretty much every critic loved this album too, making a lot of year-end lists, and it was their first album to chart on Billboard at 100. It's my personal favorite. I think I could honestly give it a perfect score, and it's also my favorite album art. I loved hearing Travis actually talk about this particular one, because it's supposed to mimic how, like, seagulls and other seafaring birds will pick up plastic out of the water and swallow it, and later you'll find them, like, dead on the beach, and as they decay, it exposes all the plastic trapped in their stomach. Just really grim, haunting stuff that sticks with you, just like the music. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one at S tier. I may have even named this in my top 100 albums of the decade video. If I didn't, it definitely should be on there. Next up is Death Atlas in 2019. So after that, this was the highly anticipated and also very well-liked follow-up. I still see many naming this as their favorite album. From the inhumanly fast drum intro of Be Still Our Bleeding Hearts to the dementedly layered shrieks and growls of With All Disrespect, I challenge you to stay out of the pit with this one. Then of course there's Bring Back the Plague, which ended up being the perfect anthem for the pandemic, which, as if taken as some challenge by the gods, began mere months after the release of this album. But aside from the grinding pace and neck-damaging riffs, they aren't above a little experimentation this time either. Half-spoken, half-snarled verses crop up on both Vulturous and Absolute Destitute like a call to the void, while the unerasable past takes a major left turn for the band with piano, strings, and mournful, clean singing. But if I am being critical of some of those elements though, I do find these somewhat simplistic compositional foundations of Vulturous that show up alongside those vocals to leave a little bit something to be desired. With All Disrespect ends up being a little bit more successful at it. As for the singing on the final track, it's performed well enough, but maybe this is a hot take, I just don't think it quite earns the emotional weight that it's going for, and personally, I could also do without all the interludes. Even so, it's always nice to see a band keeping things fresh with each new release, but for those reasons, this one didn't quite hit that same high bar for me left by the Anthropocene Extinction. Still very good though. I'm putting it at A tier. I know that's a controversial opinion, so by all means, let's have a discussion about it, and why you think that I'm wrong down in the comments in a respectful way, please. Or as usual, just get pissed off, it's all engagement to me. I'll laugh my way all the way to Google AdSense with your tears.
Let the hate flow through you.
But that brings us to Terrasite in 2023.
Conscious of ruination coursing through all of the lights. This is unsuccessful.
Now, Travis said that he wanted this one to be like daytime horror in contrast to the darkness of Death Atlas. And the cover art also spawned its share of memes, and it was kind of nice to see the band getting in on the joke. But I have to be real, and I'm looking into the concept and how it plays into it. It really is chilling when you think about it, because sort of the idea is that in Death Atlas, like, everybody fucking died. And now instead of just at least, you know, everyone's dead, at least they're at peace, like they're all sort of respawning now out of these shells as these disturbed, deformed, kind of insect-like creatures. And you can just see on his face how he's just like, oh no, not again. It makes me curious if they're also familiar with the book All Tomorrows, where it's like a bunch of aliens sort of turn humans into all these like twisted, freakish creatures. A fate far worse than death, if you ask me. In any case, another big dramatic intro with Terrasite Adaptation getting me pretty hyped with its atmosphere before the first big scream and deluge of blast beats. Then our first big single with the groovy We Eat Our Young, Travis really covering the full spectrum of his abilities here, and I love the layering of the deep death growls with the high shrieks. Lots of great vocal layering on this album, honestly, and also great pace changes here too. Scourge of the Offspring, though, is even better and one of my personal favorites on the album. The verses go so hard with some really fantastic drumming, but then offset by another soaring melodic goblin chorus. Love the super gnarly, phlegmy vocals and riffing on the insignificance, and that closing section is also super earworm, and kind of like the Anthropocene Extinction, I didn't really talk about this, but there's a lot of vocal hooks on that album too, and I'd say that that is also true of this one. Aphotic Doom, Dead End Residence, Solastalgia, and The Storm Upstairs bring more serious stank face groove, and the latter also opening with a guttural that seems to call back to their early days. And Solastalgia also has a really sick bass solo, another one of my personal favorite tracks here. And then we close with the 10+ minute Just Another Body, opening with moody piano and slowly building into a really infectious guitar hook, and a return of those really moody, clean vocals, but this time feeling much more like their weight is actually earned. Overall, just a fantastic display of all the band's best talents and a continued expansion of their capabilities. Personally, I like this album a lot more than Death Atlas. I'll be really curious to see what other people think about that, if they feel the same or differently. I will say I think it's a little too early to say if it's as good as my top 2 picks here, but it just might be. So for now, I'm putting this up high on A tier. Y'all check out this playlist for more death metal rankings, and again, let me know down in the comments how would you rank these differently. Let's get a discussion going. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.